Hi everyone, it's great to be here.
And everybody wants to know, who are you? How did you get started?
Yeah, so my real name is Tim Schatz. I picked the name Elipsi for my artist name. I guess we can probably get into that later, but in terms of getting started with music, I was very fortunate to have parents that got me into music at a very young age. When I was actually 4 years old, my parents forced me into piano lessons, which is kind of a blessing and a curse, right? At the time, I didn't really want to do it, and at 4 or 5, 6 years old, it wasn't really fun to go to piano lessons, but looking back, it kind of set me off on the right track in terms of being creative and getting into music. And since then, I've been in and out of different bands, and then most recently, I've been producing electronic music.
That's very cool. Yeah, I hear a lot of people, they either got stuck with a guitar or a clarinet or a piano.
Right.
I mean, well, the Yamahas are a lot more exciting than the piano, but
That's true. Yeah, and now looking back, I mean, piano is one of my favorite instruments. It's really the core of everything I do, especially in electronic production. Most of the synths I'm playing and samples I'm playing is all through a piano. So
cool. And what types of equipment do you use? Do you do it at home, at the studio?
yeah, everything's at home. I'm pretty much bare bones in terms of the equipment I'm using. That's one of the really great things about electronic production. It's pretty low barrier to entry, I would say. If you're recording rock or metal or jazz, you need a lot of equipment. Just to mic up a drum set, you need like 7 different mics and a sound engineer to make it sound good. But with electronic, you just need a laptop, and really you can do everything with a mouse and a keyboard if you want.
Yeah.
But basically, I use a MIDI keyboard. I also have a digital piano. I have an electric guitar and bass. And then probably my favorite tool is Ableton Push 2, which is this amazing instrument / piece of hardware made by Ableton that works with Ableton. And it's basically 64 drum pads that can be used as a standalone instrument or for sampling or sequencing. It's definitely the most creative instrument I've found.
So it's an improvement on the SC series.
Yeah.
Very cool. I like that. So, did you go to any classes or anything, or just kind of?
Not really. I'm pretty much self-taught in all the music production stuff. I had, piano lessons when I was a kid, and then got bored of that, so I switched to drum lessons, which was more fun.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a rock band and funk band for a while, playing drums and bass, and then, eventually everybody moves away, and it's hard to get people together to really play as a group. So at that point, I didn't want to stop music, and I was like, well, if I want to actually make a song, I kind of have to do all of it myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I just taught myself Fruity Loops, and then switched to Reason, and then eventually upgraded to Ableton about a couple years ago.
Now, what do you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as everyone. My tastes have changed over time. I kind of go through phases, and I try to find things that are similar to the style I'm making to give me some sort of creative influence. So back when I was playing rock and metal and funk, I would listen to rock and metal and funk. And now that I'm sort of producing electronic, I try to find other artists that are similar to me, so lots of sampling, lots of arpeggiators and kind of cool synth sounds. So some of my favorite artists are Odessa, I would say. Absolutely one of my favorites. But I still go back to my old favorites in rock and metal and funk quite a lot too.
So that's where your inspiration comes from.
Yeah.
Kind of going back a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes I listen to top 40 stuff, not because I really like it, but it's just to see the production quality and to try to get that sound that sounds really crisp. But in terms of creativity, I look elsewhere.
Yeah, it's kind of, you gotta pay attention to what the trends are, because some of them, they steal from the indie people now.
That's true.
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's
I've heard
true.
that before. And then you look at what we can do different.
Yeah, that's true. It's always good to push the boundaries a little bit.
I think so. And I was also looking at, you're in Oakland now?
I am, yeah. I've been in Oakland and East Bay my whole life, except for 4 years I left to go live in the Midwest for undergrad.
Oh.
So I lived in Indiana for 4 years, of all places. I decided to leave California and go live in the middle of the cornfields for 4 years.
Wasn't that like culture shock?
It was. Yeah, that's kind of what I wanted, really.
Yeah.
I've been in one place my whole life, and California is great, and I love it. But honestly, I love it more now that I've left and come back. So I think it was a good thing.
Oh. Well, people probably wondering that haven't heard already, well, what does he play? So I'm gonna play the song that got me interested. Talk about it by Elipsi, our guest today. And you want to tell me how that song came about? You told me something interesting about how your wife was the voice in that song.
Yeah, at the beginning of the song, you can hear her saying like, "Oh, we have to talk about it," and then my response to that is, "I don't want to talk about it." That's kind of what the song is about, and yeah, I guess it's supposed to be kind of not necessarily taken literally in terms of just not wanting to talk about a specific conversation, but really it's about human nature, right?
Right.
We tend to sort of avoid difficult conversations and difficult topics, and I definitely find that in myself included. So that's kind of the inspiration for that song.
Very cool. Now, what would you call your process? I mean, do you write, just play around with sound?
Yeah, it's kind of different every time. Sometimes I'll like write an entire song in my head, and then I'll sit down and try to recreate what was going on in my mind. And then sometimes that works, and sometimes it doesn't. It's really hard to actually do the sound engineering and get it to sound like what I'm hearing in my head in Ableton. Those are skills I'm still working on. But usually I'm just playing around with different sounds until it sounds good.
Ding!
Yeah, like ding, that's the one. So a lot of the time I'm playing with the different plugins that I have and just trying to find the right sound. And then once I get it, I'm playing around on the keyboard looking for the right melody or right chord progression, and eventually something sticks. I'll play with that over and over again, add layers of drums, add layers of vocals if needed, additional top synths and leads, and then eventually it kind of plays out to like a whole chorus or whole verse. And then like the real challenging part is going back and doing all like the fine tuning and finessing of the song. But coming up with the actual melody or verse or just kind of chord progression is pretty quick usually.
Now, how do you... I lost my train of thought here. Now that you've got this started, do you see this as a hobby or maybe developing into a music career?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say music career. I'm not sure where this is going to go, but I'm definitely following it down the rabbit hole, that's for sure. So we'll see where it leads me. But it's been a hobby for the past 10 years or so, I would say, in terms of producing music. And music's always been a part of my life. Like I mentioned, I've been involved in music in one way or another since I was like 4. So in terms of this Elipsi project, this is sort of the first time I've actually put my music out there online. And I'm seeing where it goes. If it gets some traction, I'll definitely keep following it. But no matter what, I'm going to keep producing and making music.
Yeah, because it's a fun thing to do and it can be therapeutic.
It is. I mean, everyone has to have a creative outlet, is my opinion. I think you have to have, they say you have 3 hobbies in life, right? One that makes you money, one that keeps you in shape, and one that keeps you creative.
Exactly.
And for me, music it's always been my creative outlet.
That's so cool. Well, who knows? Maybe somebody will pick up the podcast and be like, "Who is that too?"
Yeah, that's the goal, right? I mean, it's hard these days. There's so many artists out there, so many people that want to get their music heard, and it's a competitive landscape. So the promotion aspect of it is challenging as an independent person who's also working full time, trying to get this stuff out there. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's been a fun journey. I mean, coming up with the branding and the logo and the name and all of that on top of just making the music itself is a process of its own.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of people that one day I'm just, going through the internet going, I need to hear some different music. And then one day we go see them for $18 at Rickshaw.
Yeah.
And then after that, they're on the Grammys. I'm like, whoa, we saw that dude for almost nothing.
You never know. You never know these days. I mean, the way things are shared online, the way stuff goes viral, and you really have no idea. But it's the promotion is definitely important. That's the part I'm trying to learn right now.
Yeah. And well, I didn't want to say the name, but Weekend was a good example. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, you could go on an indie site and hear some music he sounded like he was doing on a keyboard in his basement.
Yeah.
And now it's like you can't go anywhere without hearing him.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just like, he's in the movie soundtrack, he's over here, he's over there. And it's not cheap to see him now.
Yeah, that's definitely a valid point. I mean, everyone who's working on music wants it to be heard to some extent. Some people put more effort into promoting than others, but what's the point of making a good song if there's no one to listen to it?
Exactly.
So that's the goal, is just to be heard.
Yeah. Well, the next song I have is It's a Trap. You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually the oldest song that I have in terms of when I made it on this album. Um, it's kind of less chill than some of the other songs on there. It's a little bit more of kind of like a hardcore, not electronic dance music song, but it's got a more heavy bass. It's got more like deep kick and sort of crisp hats and everything like that.
Well, my listeners like that.
Yeah, so it's kind of a good mix. But yeah, definitely let's share it. And I'm excited to hear what people think.
That was kind of fun. Woke you up a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little more upbeat than the rest, right?
Yeah, it's okay to have some bump and chill every now and then. But while you've been doing this, how do I put this? Have you seen any change or any involvement in your style of music?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, back when I started doing electronic music, I was pretty bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure most people getting started would say the same. But yeah, I mean, I've been learning how to do sampling, learned to actually design my own synths, trying to be more creative in terms of, not just recreating sounds that I've heard and using sample packs that other people have created, but kind of making my own stuff. That's the challenge, is, being different enough but still similar enough that people will find, comfort in your music, but still pushing the boundaries to some extent.
Yeah, it's always good to change, but not do a total 360 where it's unrecognizable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who is this again?
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely say my style has evolved. I definitely used to try to just recreate other people's music back in the day, just to try to learn the process, to learn how to make the sounds that I liked. And now there's just way less of that. Now it's really trying to put my own self out there.
That's cool. Yeah, that's definitely showing growth in that way. Now, what we were talking earlier about how the indie and the mainstream in the Bay Area, that's a good place to be indie-wise. Got a lot of good artists come from this area. How do you see that going in the future? Do you see more indie, or because I think more people are like me now. They're getting a little tired of the mainstream and they're looking for other things.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the way we're going with a lot of different things, not just music, but in terms of music, yeah, it's easier now than ever as a small independent artist to get your music out there. With the internet, with how easy it is to find a distributor and get your stuff on Spotify, pretty much anyone can do it. I mean, if you're making music and you want to get it out there, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money, and there's pretty much no barriers to actually get started. So I think more and more people are going to be pushing their songs out there, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And just in terms of society overall, I mean, if you just look at what beers people like to drink these days, more people are into craft beers versus sort of like the big corporate, like Budweisers and stuff like that. So I think in general, we're shifting more towards, independent, sort of small craft production of goods in general. I think people are getting sick of sort of the big corporate production of things, music included.
Yeah, they're not so much looking or waiting for the big record deal anymore, because they see all that's involved and how so many artists have not had a good experience. A lot of it has to do with finances, or, if it's a really large label, other artists may take precedence over you and you don't get the PR you should get, or,
Yeah, it's definitely true.
So yeah, that's definitely something I see happening. I think people are like, yeah, you can get it out there a lot quicker if you just, like you said, put it on Spotify and some other sources and see what happens.
It's surprisingly easy, actually. I mean, if there's anyone listening who's considering putting music out there, that my advice is just to go and try to do it. It's really not that hard. I mean, there's a bunch of distributors online, like CD Baby and DistroKid and a bunch of those, where you pay a small fee and you can be on Spotify and iTunes and Google Music. Within like a week of submitting your stuff, you can be on there. It's a relatively seamless process now.
Yeah, because I know so many try so hard. They're submitting their stuff to the major radio. They're submitting it to all these major labels. And some is just fear. They're not doing none of that because they don't want music stolen or to be cheated financially or to become a puppet. You see a lot of that too. They may be doing well, but they're not doing it, they're not acting on their own.
Yeah,
They're
that's
doing
true.
whatever that company tell them to do. You know, they might be on a tour that's way too long, way too exhausting, and, you know, it just becomes not a good thing.
Yeah, that sounds like that would take the fun out of it.
Yeah, you know, it makes you start wondering, why did I start doing this? You forget about, you know, you for the love of the music, for the love of the art. Some people just like to see how great it makes people feel. Look at that audience, seeing everyone dancing, smiling, and yeah, when you get in that situation, you want to get out. You don't care about that no more.
Yeah, and I think it starts to ruin the hobby, I think. You know, there have been a number of psychological studies about when people start to take their hobbies and monetize them, they start to enjoy it less, actually. I think that's the truth. You know, for me, I'm not trying to make money off my music. I'm really just making it for fun and making it for people to enjoy, which keeps it fun for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see that with a lot of things where it's fun when you're doing it for you and to make other people that enjoy it happy, but once you have to do it, yeah, that's when it's a problem. Because then when you don't feel like it, you still got to do it.
Yeah, that's true. That ruins it.
Yeah. Now, I have another single called Kalimba. What's going on with that one?
Yes, this is kind of a fun track, and the name of the song is based on the samples that I found actually for the track. I just found a really cool kalimba sound that I really liked. It was just crisp and punchy, but sounded kind of percussive and melodic at the same time, and I wanted to use that sound in the track, and I've actually used it in a bunch of my tracks on this album. That same kalimba tone with different effects and whatnot, but it's a sound I really liked a lot. It was kind of the basis of that track.
Because when I first saw the title, I was like, that sounds like a button you push on the Casio.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, since we talked a little bit about it, let's listen to Kalimba. Hey, you're listening to G's Chill Lounge, and this is your host, Gina Alexander, and our guest today is Elipsi. Want to say hello to those who may just be tuning in?
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks for joining.
And yeah, we're just now almost coming on the second hour, so like maybe a little recap on who you are.
Yeah, sure. So I guess just a brief introduction. My real name is Tim Schatz. I live in Oakland, California. I've been playing music to some degree since I was about 4 years old, starting off playing piano and then moving on to bass and drums and guitar. And then about 8 or 9 or 10 years ago, I got into electronic music production. So that's kind of been the journey I've been on. And now I'm just focusing on electronic music and making chill beats. And this is my first album that we're sharing today.
Okay, so does that mean you'll be open for performing at Rickshaw or the Independent?
I'm thinking about it. You know, I've never done a live show. I've never really put music out there before. Kind of open to anything. I mean, at this point, I would like to. My point was sort of to put music out there online, see if it gets traction, see if people like it, and if I get good feedback, yeah, I'm definitely open to doing some shows.
Cool. Maybe your first one will be one of my events.
Maybe, yeah.
And so, well, like you said, you're waiting to see how it goes, but you know, it might be a good time to get managed, because I see some artists where now that they're out there, things are getting crazy, and then they still have no management.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. That's the reality of it. You know, I'm in my garage making beats and making songs, and that's what I know how to do so far. But in terms of actually putting the music out there and coming up with the logo and the branding and the website and social channels, that's all new to me.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to your point, like, is management an option? Maybe. I don't know. I don't even know where to start.
And for those who may be interested in helping you with that, or just a little bit more curious about you, what's your website?
So it's elipsimusic.com. It's ELIPSI music.com. I also have an Instagram and Facebook. I'm also on SoundCloud and Spotify and pretty much all the other channels for music.
Yeah, saw Tim Schatz Twitter with, Tim hasn't tweeted yet.
No, I think that's the one channel I'm not on. I've done Facebook, I've done Instagram. I don't even use Twitter for my own personal life, so I haven't posted anything there yet.
Yeah, well, that'll be good when you get your shows and things going. But
Yeah.
as far as like, hey, I'm doing blah blah, yeah, that's not a good channel for that.
Yeah, that's true.
But I use it a lot just to announce when the shows are coming or when, certain artists and share some music, things like that. And some people like it because it's fast paced. It's like, it changes.
Right,
really
it's,
quick.
what is it, 140 characters? Have they increased it by now?
They increased it a little bit. That steers a few people away.
Yeah.
But just to, mention or share something real quick, like a breaking news thing or just something you want to be like, hey, this is my new song I was working on today. Who does that a lot? Louis Futon.
Hmm.
He'll just be playing around in the studio and then he'll just put a video on there. Hey, this is what I was doing today.
That's cool.
And I like that. I want him in there. If you're listening, I want Louis Futon on my show. But yeah, so it's fun in that way. Just But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, you can type a little bit more in there.
Yeah, you can share videos, you can connect with people, message people. You can probably do all that on Twitter too. I just haven't really used it much yet, but I'll have to learn, I guess.
Yeah. And what do you think about as far as, like, we've been talking about the Bay Area, but how do you see music overall, like as far as nationally, internationally? I see a lot of international stuff happening more now.
There definitely is. I mean, I think people are starting to get bored of this overly played top 40 stuff that we have here in the U.S. and abroad. I mean, I think people are just starting to get over it. Like, every beat I hear on the radio is just 4/4. Everything is the same chord progressions over and over again. I'm sure you've seen those videos on YouTube of like musicians on the guitar playing every single song that's popular right now, just using the same 4 chord progressions, and that's totally common. So I think people are going to start to get bored of that and branch out more and listen to music from other places and other cultures, because there's so much out there that's not really getting represented equally.
Yeah, and me and my sister were talking about how a lot of things sound alike from different artists. And I go, well, that usually comes from either the same producer, the same label, or they just took a formula and ran with it. Everybody's like, well, if I sound like that, I'll get a hit record too.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And it shouldn't be about that.
Yeah, I mean, like Chainsmokers, for example, they have like the same chord progression. They've released at least 3 or 4 songs on the exact same idea. And I'm like, where's the creativity involved, But I get it. Like, it's making money, it's getting publicity, people like it. But I think it's going to get old. I think it's going to get old pretty quick.
And one person I joke about, I love him, and I know a lot of producers are still using him, is Nile Rodgers. And how many songs have you heard with that same...
Yeah,
It
exactly.
still sounds like Chic.
Yeah.
But they put a little bit in, music today. But I could be listening to an R&B song now, and that comes in there like, here go Nile Rodgers again.
Yeah, same thing.
I think, now he's with Pharrell a lot. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy how they can take one little thing, and I always joke about, you probably can make a song out of anything. It's just who gets a hold of it, whether it becomes a hit or not.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people like things that are familiar to them. That's part of why we keep hearing the same chord progression over and over again, is people like to be able to anticipate what's coming next in the song. And if you listen to something that's really out there or from a different culture or a different genre, you don't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't like that sometimes, but I'm hoping that cycle will end. I'm hoping people will start to branch out more.
Yeah, and our last music break, we played Kalimba that we talked about, but then we also went in the poolside that had a different sound. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. So this was sort of, I made it probably towards the end of last year in terms of when I produced that track. And I was learning how to sample. I had recently gotten Ableton Push 2, the main piece of hardware I'm using, and really just experimenting and trying to learn how to use the thing. It's kind of technical and complicated, but it's absolutely amazing. And the song was kind of the output of just my learning process. Finding different samples online that I like little vocal clips, and chopping them up and sort of using them as melodies. So it's sort of just the byproduct of my own learning and sort of experimentation.
I like that. I'm going to put that in some future shows.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy how it turned out. It's almost like I have to make 10 bad songs before I get one that I even like a little bit. So it's just constantly producing and producing to get, you know, a high kind of volume of tracks. So there's like a few in there that I really like.
Yeah, well, that's, I think, is normal. I mean, I haven't put anything out there, but I know some things, it's like you listen to it, you're like, something's missing.
Yeah.
So you keep tweaking it and adding things and taking things out, and, you know, until you're happy with it.
That's true. Yeah, that's the process. It's just experimenting and playing around. That's a lot of it.
Very cool. Now, we're coming up on Saturdays. Any info on that one?
I'm pretty sure I made the song on a Saturday, hence the name. Just hanging out at my house. I mean, similar to the last song we just listened to, A Poolside, is also just a byproduct of my experimentation and trying to learn Ableton and trying to learn production skills in general. And just sort of tweaking different sounds, finding samples, and that's just kind of how it ended up.
Okay. Well, with that said, let's listen to Saturdays. You're listening to G's Chill Lounge with your host, Gina Alexander. And today, I mentioned, was a very chill day on this, well, remember how I said it seems like every time I do a show it's raining? Well, today it's about to rain, but not quite. But I hope you're enjoying today's show and will continue to chill with me every Thursday. And our special guest today is Elipsi.
Hi, everybody.
And I have a question for you. What impact do you want to have on the industry?
Impact do I want to have on the industry? That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. You know, I've been thinking mostly about just getting my stuff off the ground and even whether or not people will hear it. I haven't really thought about impact on the industry. I guess what I do want to have is an impact on other artists out there that are maybe afraid to put their music online, maybe haven't taken that first step to start promoting and sharing their music. That's the influence I'd like to have, is to show people how easy it is to really get out there and get your music heard.
Sharing your story. So that's basically your message to those aspiring to do what you do.
Absolutely. I mean, just, you know, get past the nervousness of putting your stuff out there and just do it. Just take the step.
Yeah, because I could see that. A lot of people are, well, of course my family and my friends like it, but what about the world?
Yeah.
That can be very, very scary. But for those that may be interested in talking with you or even looking you for something, could you put your contact information out there if you don't mind? Or
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a contact form on my website. It's elipsimusic.com. Elipsi is spelled E-L-I-P-S-I. So yeah, definitely hit me up. I'm definitely looking for people to collaborate with, people to work with. If anyone has questions for me or advice for me or anything, I mean, I'm open to it.
Now see, now you're stealing my next question. I was going to ask, did you have any dream collaborations?
Dream collaborations.
Yeah.
In terms of like who I'd like to work with, I don't really have anyone particular in mind, but I do want to work with other talented musicians. That's the goal. And maybe not even someone well known. Maybe I'd work with someone who's not known at all, and we'll make something good together.
That can be fun.
But ultimately, I like sort of combining organic, real instruments with electronic music. So I mean, I would love to bring in someone playing cello or someone playing bass or horns and sort of combine that with electronic production. And that would be sort of one of the end goals for me.
Yeah, that's like when you were saying you could get some of your wife's melodies on the keyboard.
Exactly.
Ah, that would be very cool because a lot of people still like that live, authentic sound. And lately vinyl's been coming back. I'm a little bit excited about that.
It's true. It's getting popular. I mean, people say it's better sound quality than MP3s. So I think that's true. And that there's something missing now in terms of the way we share and consume music. Everything is streamed online. I remember, back when I was a kid, it was all about collecting music and building your library and making playlists, and I don't think people do that much anymore. People are more finding singles they like versus artists and albums, and it's just a different mindset.
Yeah, and I think as an artist, that would just make me want to work harder to produce an album that you can listen to from beginning to end. You want the whole thing.
Yeah.
Not go through it on iTunes and be like, well, I just like this one and this one.
That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of that out there. You know, a lot of people have their one or two singles that they push out, and those are popular. And then there's a lot of fluff on the albums too.
Yeah.
And a lot of just filler, just to finish it out.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, you can tell which ones they really worked on and which ones just sound like, was this sitting collecting dust somewhere and they just threw it on there?
Yeah, that's true.
And it seems more people are starting to go the mixtape way too, where it doesn't have to necessarily be a certain number of songs. It could just be a few songs or even an EP. And
Yeah.
that seems to be more successful too than, you know, they could be really good, put out a really good album that's got 21 songs and hidden tracks, and then you don't hear from them in forever. But to do it that way, just put 6 of them out here and another 6 later, and maybe do, you know, some kind of compilation later. But
Yeah, that's true. And a lot more artists are just putting out singles these days too, instead of full albums, which kind of makes sense. You know, we live in an age of instant gratification where people want to see new content constantly, and to fit into that sort of landscape, you have to be constantly putting stuff out there.
yeah, keep your name out there, keep your sound out there. Because I know, you know, there's some things you pick it up. Yeah, I'm gonna put it on my phone. I can listen to it on BART, you know. But yeah, necessarily you don't want to hear a whole album. You want to hear a variety of things, and that's it too. People want variety.
Yeah, definitely true.
You know, they'll be like, well, this person's great, but I don't want to hear a whole hour of them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see things changing a lot that way. Now, how do you feel about how they've, well, record sales is like if you're not selling records, you're depending on your digital sales.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot more artists are making money off of other aspects of their career online versus just the music.
Yeah.
You know, things like Spotify and iTunes Music don't really pay out a whole lot unless you have like millions and millions of streams. But even in that case, I don't think that's the real moneymaker for people these days.
That is more recognition, where a lot of the awards given out now, they look at that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not so much the sales or how hard they are on the charts. It's how many people are streaming them and downloading them and that type of thing.
Yeah, that's true.
And one other thing I was looking at was, there I go again, I must be getting old. Is, seriously, where did my mind go? I think we should listen to the future and then we'll come back and talk about it.
All right.
We're back. It's G's Chill Lounge on Radio Valencia in San Francisco. And our guest is still here, Elipsi. Talk to me.
Hey everybody, happy to be here.
And I was having a senior moment a minute ago, but now I remembered what it was. We were talking about how the popularity of Vital is resurging, and I'm hoping that it goes back to those good old days where we had the Warehouse and the Tower and the Virgin, and we still have Rasputin and Amoeba, but you know what I mean. Just to be able to go in there and go upstairs and listen to music, order the 12 inches you need, all that good stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, digital is just the easiest way to reach a massive audience,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the realm I work in marketing, is digital marketing. So that's kind of my, you know, my bread and butter, I guess you could say. But I think people are getting a little bit sick of everything being digital. People are wanting to go back to a more organic format of things.
It says audio files.
It's definitely audio files. I mean, quality is diminished when you're compressing to an MP3. You know, people want lossless sound quality these days, but it's hard to get that in reality unless you're really into it. But ultimately, I mean, yeah, I do think people are going to want to go back to the store experience, but I think for that to happen, the experience itself is going to have to change and adapt to modern times. You know, people may not have the patience to walk into a CD store and sort of rummage through the shelves and rummage through the different genres to find what they want. It's going to be some kind of combination of a digital and in-person experience to really get people probably to get back into that format, I would think.
That's true, because there's some people who have never had that experience. All they've known is maybe before the CDs phased out and they didn't go to the store to get those. They might have, I don't know where they would have bought them. I know there's a lot of other places besides the store, online, or, you know, maybe they just saw the electronics section in Walmart or something. But not like, you know, before, where you could go into a true music store.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that really used to be the only option to actually acquire music and build a collection, would be to go and seek out new artists and new genres and albums. But there's so many other options now where people are sort of taking the easy way out and just putting on, you know, automated playlists on Pandora or Spotify, which is a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of people that are getting maybe swept under the rug and not included in those playlists, so they're not getting, you know, a lot of listens. But ultimately, I think those playlists are kind of a good thing to introduce people to new music to some extent.
I think so. Or maybe it can be a collective of sorts. A lounge, nightclub slash, you know, digital library. Or while you're in the lounge, you're experiencing all this new music, and then, of course, audiophiles and DJs and things. There's also a place where we can, you know, dig into some vinyl and listen to it and share and sell and rebuy and all those kinds of things.
That sounds like a great idea. I'd be there.
So a different kind of music hub, I guess. Hey, anybody want to help me with this? Let's get it started.
It's a good concept, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, what are you looking at doing with, I guess I'm saying there has to be something new you're playing with now or experimenting with.
Yeah, there is. Trying to learn to do my own vocals.
Yeah?
Trying to learn, yeah. I've always been sort of shy of singing and sort of have stayed away from that in my entire music career from when I was a kid through now. But it's hard to find the samples that I want. It's hard to find the vocal sounds that I want, so I'm just trying to learn to do it myself.
I see.
That's kind of the new thing I'm working on. So in the upcoming tracks, you may hear a little bit more of me on it.
Oh, so it won't just be the music. There'll be a little something else in there.
A little bit. And there's a little sample of that on my two most recent songs, Talk About It and Supernova.
Right.
I did the vocals on there, but they're pretty minimal, so
Mm-hmm.
hoping to sort of, you know, practice that more and expand on that skill set and add more to my new tracks.
Cool. Now the last song we played was The Future.
Yeah, so that's, you know, that's another one. I actually made that the same day I made the Poolside track. I made 2 songs in one day, which was a really good day. You know, similar to what I was mentioning before, like a lot of this album was just experimentation and learning and just kind of grinding in terms of learning how to use Ableton and my hardware and find good samples. And it's, you know, like I said before, it's really just a byproduct of this experimentation I've been going through. And the Future, this track, is just another example of that. And I've sort of tried to get a certain sound across all these tracks with, you know, very crisp synths, using a lot of arpeggiators, using a lot of samples. But this track and Poolside are probably 2 that are very similar, because I made them in the same mindset and actually in the same day at my house.
So yeah, you were in that same mood and just kept it going.
Exactly.
Wow. So you ever thought about maybe producing for other artists?
I have, and it's definitely something I would like to do down the line. I think, you know, right now I'm still building my skills, building my confidence with the software and sound engineering and sound design, but I would love to collaborate with some other people. I think there's a lot more opportunity and a lot more creativity when you're working with others versus just working alone.
Yeah. So, you know, it might be a really good vocalist out there. I did the music on that album.
Yeah, if anyone out there is looking to do some vocals on my tracks, hit me up. Definitely looking for other folks to collaborate with.
I want to see all that.
It'll be fun. I hope it happens this year.
Very cool. Now, have you done any promotion or besides the internet, or
just online so far, and that's kind of what I know. You know, like I said, I work in digital marketing, so that's kind of where my head is at, is, you know, reaching people online, finding your target audience, looking at the analytics and optimizing your campaigns towards what's working well. So yeah, I've basically just done some influencer marketing using Fiverr.com. You can find folks that have millions of followers on their playlists, and they can promote you there. So that's been the majority of what I've been doing. I've done some Facebook ads. I've done some Spotify promotion. That's pretty much been it so far. But it's challenging. It's hard to find time just to make music, but then to also find time for promotion and that whole aspect of it too. It's quite time consuming.
Yeah, it can be. Well, that's the other thing for management. Either they would do the PR or they'd have some other PR people that could push it out.
Yeah, that'd be nice. It's constantly focusing on making new music, but the promotional aspect of it is definitely important. I've seen some stats online of other similar artists to me saying it's 70% promotion and 30% actually making the music. And I think that's pretty valid. I think it's while independent artists are needing to focus on making new songs and making new music, the promotional aspect of it is just as important if you actually want to be heard. There's so much noise out there and so much competition in the music space. Just hundreds of thousands of artists out there that are trying to put out new songs. It's hard to compete. So the promotion is definitely important. And it's honestly probably easier now than ever to get started with promotion with all the services out there. Sometimes distributors can help with that stuff, but you can find people online that you can pay a pretty small fee to actually help you promote your stuff.
Yeah, because there are definitely some people that they have one song, just one, but it's been circulated and pushed the heck out of it.
Yeah, it's impressive. It's been a bit of a challenge, I would say. I put this album out there in February, so it's really only been less than 2 months. And I've tried out different tactics. Like I said, the Facebook ads, some Instagram ads. But what I found to be most effective is finding influencers out there that can push your music out.
Right.
And that's really gotten me some traction.
And that's the big thing too. These music bloggers, if they like it and they put it on their site or their blog, and then YouTube, now they have these reaction videos.
Oh yeah.
Where they're like, oh my God, did you hear that bass? And people look at all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and people also expect you to have the whole ecosystem of digital experiences with your music. So you have to have a website, you have to have social presence. As an artist, you have to be more than just an artist. You have to be a promoter at the same time, at least if you're doing it independently.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time somebody has walked in the studio with a CD.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you have to have high quality music, you have to be creative, and then you have to know how to promote it and get it out there. It's tough.
Yeah, like we were talking about during the music break, I was saying at other station I've worked for where, we'd have boxes and boxes of promotional CDs from all the labels, and then we'd end up just, here, take them all.
Yeah, just give it out for free at that point, and at least people are hearing it.
Yeah, and I know that's most of them's intention is that we just give it out like that, but it would be so much, that sometimes we didn't get rid of it. It would get to the point where you're filling up the van at the gas station. They're like, "Hey, got free tickets, blah blah." Here, oh, we got something for you. Here you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how we don't have to deal with that anymore. And then I was talking to one of my friends who's a Bay Area artist. She was saying that she has download cards that she passes out instead of, your little single or EP or whatever. Because I was like, hey, have you got your CD out yet? She's like, oh, I'm with a new label and I have a download card. And I was like, oh, okay.
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of services out there where you can have one link that will actually link you to your Spotify, your SoundCloud, and everything. So there's definitely some services out there to make it easier to have, just one URL that you can send fans to, and they can find all your information.
Plus, it eliminates that friend who liked the CD you loaned him so much, and you have to make him a copy to get it back.
Yeah, exactly.
Be like, I will make you a copy. Give me my CD back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a lot easier, and you can even add more things to that, like you said. So, yeah, that's very cool. But Now, one other thing, I'm always on the indie mainstream thing because I'm more on indie now, is I think there should be indie radio.
There definitely should be. I mean, just like we're talking right here, I'm getting some awareness of my music, which is great for me, and I think it's good for folks that are listeners to hear something that's not just the mainstream.